Ladies and gentlemen, once again, it's Qouch's Couch. This is part 3 of the Marvel vs. DC conversation I'm having. I am the host, the Quis, and this is my good friend Stegman. Stegman?
It's me.
It's him. If you don't know, follow him on Twitter, Facebook, YouTube. The CIA already is. He's under investigation because he's crazy. He's incredible. So the government clearly has to, quash anybody that has his level of intellect.
I changed my name 15 times in the last month.
He had to. He's off the grid, so you won't find him at an address. If you want to mail him any of your complaints, you'd have to use a P.O. box because he is constantly moving. He's not unlike Aslan from the Chronicles of Narnia fame. But segment, we were talking about the implausibility of comic books and superheroes. We find ourselves engaged in these conversations, like, for example, Batman, for all his multiple martial arts abilities, could be stopped with a gun to the head. We don't understand why superheroes or supervillains or villains don't, just shoot him. Professor Xavier, we were talking earlier about the implausibility of, him having the most powerful psychic mind in the world, but yet he doesn't use his psychic abilities like ever. So he just let people slap him and his people around when he could just like cut their brains off psychically. And a lot of other things that we like to discuss when it comes to superheroes. So, Stag, what do you want to, throw out to the world in terms of what you love, what you don't love about comics and superheroes?
Well, like I said, I got into comics a few years ago, and even though I prefer DC over Marvel, I still love them both greatly. And I just love like how they touch on real life issues, the storylines, all of the characters. Just comic books are where it's at. If you don't read them, you should read them.
What do comics do for you outside of entertaining you? What value, if there's someone out there who says comics are stupid, children are for geeks, what do you say about comics that make, that could make you want to read them or appreciate them?
I think it's the characters, because there's so many different types of characters in comics that it's someone for everyone. Like, if you're a nerd, if you're a jock, if you're black, white, I don't know, Asian, there's comics in there for you, for everyone.
Shout out to Latinos and Middle Eastern people. He's a xenophobe, racist.
Hey, well.
Did you just do a head? That's on the internet. Right, so all those other racial groups that he didn't acknowledge and that he gave a headway to, don't send your hate mail to Qouch's Couch.
We're all races are loved in comic books.
They are.
Them, so there.
The Black Lightning family is from some undescript place in South Africa. It's on the border between that and the Middle East.
Yeah, wherever.
Kandahar.
Same place from where Ororo's from.
Yeah. Well, no, she's from Wakanda. Ororo, the Kenyan word for beauty.
Of course.
Yeah, she's from Brooklyn. And she grew up in Kenya, so, But, what I do, just to add to what Stegman said, comics, the language, if you're a parent and your child is struggling, the language in a comic book is so scientific and poetic that you figure it out contextually, but it develops your vocabulary. If you want your child to do better on the SATs or with competency or deductive reasoning, give them a comic book. There are 30 pages of some of the most brilliant, concise writing that you get a complete epic story in. So you can read one comic and it's like you watched a whole movie or watched a whole episode or something, but it's serialized, so that can continue indefinitely. But when you're reading a comic, if I pick any comic at random and just read a passage, your leader is wrong, we are your enemy, because our species will replace yours, because you will live, you will die. As you should have killed the Sapiens, because they will surely try to kill you. Behind you, Celeste. And Scott, before you even ask, their minds are too strong. You can't shut them down in any timely fashion. Guardian Clan, hold your fire. Iceman, slay the target. Psylocke, Hellion, use your telekinetic. Listen, telekinetic species. When I was a kid reading these words, I had to sign them out and look them up. I am an English major. I have a degree in English. Stegman, what's your educational background as of today?
I am currently a communications major.
Okay, and I also had a communication major in college. You cannot read comics throughout your life and not develop an appreciation for language. So right off the bat, a comic book, especially a Marvel comic book, helps develop, your education and your vocabulary. DC, they don't really, unless you're reading the Star Labs comic, they don't really go into the scientific jargon as much. Or maybe a Ray Palmer or a Firestone comic, but, Superman is just drink milk, eat pie.
I think you're thinking of Superman from the 50s. I don't know.
Has he changed? Has he really changed over, really? Is he not still the American dream, say your prayers? Superman is the comic book equivalent of Hulk Hogan. Shouts out to Terry. But, no, the thing about comics in general is that in addition to the building of a vocabulary, it heightens your creativity, your imagination, your ability to conceptualize ideas that the average person may not even consider. Time travel and all kinds of stuff. It's a form that really pushes you on an intellectual level more than anything else that I can imagine. So, what other interests do you find Stegman branch from comics, or you find compliment a person who loves comics? What else do you feel passionate about other than his art form?
I guess one it connects with the movies too. Like I'm a big fan of movies, and I try to be a film critic in my spare time. And I think if you go into like a movie, or especially a comic book movie, it always feels nice to know who these characters are they're talking about in the movie. If you read comic books, like let's talk about the recent Thor movie that came out. Like since I'm not a big fan of Thor, but I know who like the minor characters are, like the Warriors 3 and Sif, and like to know who those are, and then see them on TV, on the big screen. It's kind of a better feeling than blind into a Thor movie and like nudging someone next to you and like, who's that Natalie Portman character again? It's like, Jane Foster.
Or when they showed what's his name, the Hawkeye character.
Oh yes, Barton.
Yeah,
Barton.
He played by the Oscar-winning star of The Hurt Locker. He's been the Town. Agent Clint Barton. For us comic fans, we know that was Hawkeye. And so it's nice. I had went to go see Thor by myself, and so on either side of me there was like a 5-year-old little boy and some lady with her husband, so I couldn't really be like, yo, that's Hawkeye. But I mean, I got like geeked out. You watch these current movies at the end of Thor after the credits. You saw the Cosmic Cube.
That actually brings up a point I saw. Like we were all watching, I think it was Iron Man 2. And at the end of that, like the Thor's hammer Mjolnir, and a couple of my friends were like, so what's that hammer? I'm like, yeah, I know what that hammer is.
Yeah, you just feel a sense of like it's just there's a lot of little tidbits thrown in for the fans, and that goes to like Harry Potter or Twilight. And it's what me and Stegman are talking about here is bigger than just the comic medium. It's about the literary medium. The fact that as we move to a more technological age, we're losing those things. The paper products that tie us to this oral tradition, this ancient tradition of exchanging of ideas. And as we move to a digital age, I think that we're losing amongst the whole, nebulous world that is the internet. We're losing these gems where you go to a comic book store and say, give me the 3 best Marvel comics, or the 3 best DC comics, or Image, or Avatar, or these other companies. So many great. Me and Stegman have primarily talked about Marvel versus DC, but there are other companies, publishers out there who created a superior product. I know I love Spawn. Crossed is an amazing book put out by, I believe, Avatar. The Star Wars Legacy is amazing.
Why the Last Man.
I was gonna, and Invincible. What other books that are traditional, non-commercial comics that you've read or that you can speak to that you would want to promote?
Well, kind of traditional. The League of Extraordinary Gentlemen. It first came out as a comic. I loved that. Sandman from Vertigo, which is on YDC, just saying that. Let's see what else. Watchmen, of course. It had to move in everything.
Preacher.
Garfield. Like you said,
that's
Crossed.
A vertical.
Yeah. Crossed. There are tons out there.
Yeah, Crimson, the old series that came out through the what company was that? I remember the Humberto Ramos did it. Crimson was a great series. It's about a teenage vampire. And then there's so many series out there.
Speaking of vampires, like if you're ever a fan of like even TV shows, like I was a fan of Buffy the Vampire Slayer when it came out, and currently Dark Horse is continuing with that series into like.
Yeah, Josh Whedon is season 8. And Laurel K. Hamilton, my favorite author, she does the Anita Blake Vampire Hunter series, and they also have a comic series that is written by 2 black men, the Dabble brothers. And so the Anita Blake series is possibly hands down the best sci-fi fantasy series out there, and then a comic book gives you a visual representation. And that's another thing about comics. Unfortunately, because I guess men are supposedly visually stimulated, the comic industry lends itself more to males, and there's a lot of misogynistic things. I mean, here's a character who her costume is that she's pretty much naked, and as a guy, you're like, oh, that's awesome. I've never seen a flat-chested superhero ever. They all have like triple D cups. So that's
unless they're underage, then that's not getting to that story.
What's that?
Unless they're underage.
But look at Power Girl. Power Girl was embarrassing. I worked at a library and I ordered a Power Girl graphic novel, and it was challenged by my coworkers because Power Girl, Google Power Girl, you know, she's like wearing this like one-piece bathing suit with her breasts completely exposed. I mean, sometimes as a fan, I'm embarrassed if I want to show like my mom or my wife a comic book, you know, my sister, and I have like Psylocke or you know Emma Frost on the cover.
Like, what was it, Ladies of X-Men title, whatever it was, Women of X-Men.
Oh, back in the day, like early '90s, Jim Lee.
Yeah.
With the bikinis.
Yeah.
I went through puberty because of that.
Like
shouts out to Jim Lee.
The Women of Triple X-Men.
Hey. Comic books raise young boys. They give us this need to have an edible complex, you know, beat our fathers and become great men, as well as give us a lot of boobies.
Who doesn't love boobies?
Yeah, come on. Everyone loves boobies. Shouts out to everybody that's been breastfed. Team breastfed.
Just shout out to boobs in general.
Yeah, no, come on. Seriously. We're two very hetero men who love you ladies. Unfortunately, nerds, we're not as, you know, appealing. You know, ladies like the big troglodytes that'll knock you down before you want somebody who can have an engaging conversation. But, you know, the geek shall inherit the earth. Shouts out to Bill Gates, Steve Jobs, you know, Stephen Hawking. You know, those guys are like multi-billionaires and, you know, they've redefined society. So
everyone
I think we're in good company.
Network.
What's that?
Everyone in the G4 network.
Oh, yeah. The whole staff of Marvel, DC, the whole comic industry, all the authors out there and the literati.
Most directors, producers.
Yeah. Anybody who's intelligent enough to understand. Oh, I do want to be the first black George Lucas. I will say that definitively on every tape. You know, my story, Children of the Illuminati, that I've been working on for 20 years, that's my magnum opus. Okay, one day, Marquise Wolford will be named amongst the upper echelon of literary scholars. Stegman, is there any baby that you're working on, any literary endeavor?
Not currently. I'm busy with a lot of stuff. But one day I'm going to start writing a series of my own. I don't know. Got to get the all the brain juices flowing, I guess.
Probably read some more Marvel comics. I mean, reading Marvel comics my whole life set me up for, you know, a pretty nice story. DC might just having you want to like extol the virtues of milk drinking and, you know, saying your prayers.
Build strong bones.
Yeah, hey, you know, you're gonna need that as a vigilante. It's a lot of potential out there though, as you read the comic, to develop your own stories, to be inspired. You know, shouts out to everybody out there who's working on something, because one day you can have two, you know, black nerds discussing your art form on the internet and you know, promoting it, you know, free of charge. Free, come on, seriously. Come on, seriously. I mean, you know how many black people are to go out and read Preacher and X-Men because of this?
I could be selling drugs right now.
Well, probably not him or me either, because we probably don't. I wouldn't buy drugs from us. I'd assume narcs, you know?
Exactly.
Hey, you want some marijuana? Did you pronounce it marijuana?
No.
You understand that J is. You know, would you like some marijuana?
Hello, fellows.
Oh, my good absconding individuals. Absconding? What is that? What? Get him, he a narc. Yeah, that's not a good look. Pick a lane. But no, seriously. Yeah, I can't talk enough, and obviously Stegman can't talk enough about what comics are. But last minute, Stegman, anything that you want to end it on? I mean, my last word is that comics are great. X-Men is probably one of the best comic books out there. X-Men First Class would be an amazing movie, and Captain Boomerang is a pretty whack character. So anything you want to...
As whack as Boomerang, Marvel's?
Come on.
Marvel's
Boomerang is like a third-tier Spider-Man throwaway building. Captain Boomerang in DC was a character they resurrected to be, you know, a critical part of their Brightest Day storyline.
He was a critical part.
Was he?
Yeah.
In another video, we had to discuss what significant role he played. This punchy, you know, overweight, over the hill.
He was only overweight like, and before he died, because he was out of work and like.
I guess there's not a lot of work to be found for a boomerang welding mercenary.
Not at that time, no.
Not as much as you think there would be. All right, we got about 35 seconds left. Segment real quick. Any last words for the third part of Marvel vs. DC?
Just same thing as usual. You know, comic books are great. They're awesome. If you don't read them, you should. Especially DC. You know, just go. Stop. What are you doing? Stop that. Stop.
I'm just saying. People. If you want something good to read.
If you want something good, come on, team.
It's not even in the shot. You see that? He didn't hear. I'll put it out there. Teen Titans. I'm not mad at it. He left it for me to read, but come on, if you want something really good. Uncanny X-Force. Anything with X on it. X marks the spot. Second, last word.
Comics are great. You should read them. That's it.
Enough said. Excelsior. Marvel Comics. Holler!